Good morning. Welcome back. You're still watching Daybreak on this 23rd day of April 2024. And I want us to have a conversation here in studio by speaking to the leaders that are here about the latest in the world of politics, but also looking at the developments with the flood situation. Of course, looking at the papers, you'll see that the main story on the Daily Nation is flashes, city pastor on the run, over 600 million shilling jobs racket. And then on the front page of the Standard, they are talking about cost of living, facts versus fiction. Experts say the recent reduction in the cost of power and fuel, as well as the rally of the shilling against the dollar, has more to do with market forces than government interventions. And then down there, you'll see cases show war on fake certificates, a big battle. And of course, this is coming from that statement, public statement by the president and the deputy president the last week, when they were talking about many people having fake papers, and should they leave the public service, then that would reduce the costs of wage bill in the country. I want us to introduce the panelists here in studio. I have Robert Mbui, Member of Parliament for Kathiani constituency. He's also the Deputy Minority Leader at the National Assembly. I have Peter Orero, the Member of Parliament for Kibra constituency. Good morning.
Good morning.
I have not hosted you here before. Have you been here?
Yeah, but not you.
Oh, yeah. So
others,
it's good to see you.
Yeah.
And then we have Gladys Bose, the Member of Parliament for Uasin Gishu, but also Deputy Speaker, National Assembly. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yusuf Hassan is the Member of Parliament for Kamukunji constituency. Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, I didn't ask you. Good morning, Robert Mbui.
Yeah, morning. I was wondering why.
No, it was not deliberate.
It's a late comer.
Okay. I didn't say that. He did. So, right, let's dive straight into it. We'll shortly be listening to what the President and the Deputy had to say about the fake certificates. But let me begin with you, Deputy Speaker, because if indeed it is known that that is the situation, why would it be... Okay, let's listen to the clip first, then we get to you.
Tusisumbuane, they should just refund the money we pay them as salaries and wages so that we stop the games. Otherwise, EACC, DCI must move with full speed to recover public resources that were spent on these people.
Watu wengi wako kwa serikali, wengine magavana, wengine heads of department, wengine wamekaa huku, wengine wamekaa na wewe hapa. Makaratasi yao iko dosari.
All right. What are you saying, Mheshimiwa Hassan?
I think let's let Mheshimiwa Hassan go first.
What are you saying?
On the subject matter.
I thought I heard you saying something, but anyway, if you don't want to say it, it's fine. But let me begin by looking at this reality, and I'll begin with you actually, because Honorable Deputy Speaker has said that. So fake certificates, members of the public service, be they governors, be they other officers, so it's an admission. The government knows. Why then not take action?
Well, that is for the government. But I just wanted to say that I have a very strong position personally on this issue because of ethical reasons. That in fact it is not right for anyone to be given employment on the basis of documentation that they have obtained deceptively.
Yeah.
But I think the question of ethics in Kenya is in a question mark, given the fact that it's very, very difficult for many individuals to get jobs using the normal procedures of organizations. There's a lot of nepotism. There's a lot of discrimination and corruption in the employment of people. So, and some of the, if you look at some of the leadership, have acquired the positions that they have, or have managed to be appointed to positions of responsibility without having any certificates,
right,
or having fake certificates. And therefore they have set a very bad example for the rest of the country. So you cannot tell a poor man from an humble background,
Right.
Don't use the same methods that the elite has used to go up the ladder.
Right.
And that's why I think this matter should not be politicized and should not be made into a situation whereby certain individuals will be targeted for sackings. For example, I think we know very clearly when the deputy president was speaking there, some of the persons that he was pointing to, they come from his own ruling party. And it appears as if it is a politically motivated statement to say that we want to get rid of those people whom we don't like in the system, rather than a cleaning up operation that would really rid this country of elements like that. And then I think also some of these people have served in those ministries for so long, although they may have come with fake certificates, in the process they have acquired considerable experience and knowledge, and they may even be outperforming the people who have got these degrees that may have been acquired from those universities,
Right.
not through hard work and education, but maybe by bribing the university authorities. So I think every case should be considered separately. And I saw a gentleman who was fired from government. He came with a fake certificate. And then eventually he did his degrees. He did a master's, and at the moment when he was fired, he was doing his PhD. So I don't know whether there is a remission, whether you look...
And what degree certificate did he use for master's enrollment?
Yeah.
Well, you can, through experience nowadays, there are universities and institutions, even Harvard. You can go to Harvard with experience rather than a...
No.
Yes, you can. You can if you're mature. I'm a graduate of an American university, one of the top American universities. There are business people and high achievers in society who don't have certificates, who are considered on the basis of their knowledge. You can do a portfolio-based masters.
This particular
a lot of the masters in business administration in many universities are based on experience. Maybe we are in Kenya. Maybe we don't have that, but many universities value experience, knowledge of the person.
That's what I'm asking for, so that we get right your example.
I don't know the details of this particular person, but he was doing those 2 degrees. He'd done his master's and he was doing his PhD degree at a recognized public university in Kenya. So what I'm saying is that it's not either or. It's a very much more complex subject. And if you have worked for all these years in that institution, you have developed institutional memory. You have developed extraordinary experience. And I see a lot of the students who are coming out of universities nowadays. I have employed quite a number of them. The standards of education in our country have gone so low that some of these people cannot write a perfect paragraph or letter in English or in any language, including their own or Kiswahili. So this holier-than-thou attitude should not be used for political purposes or for vendetta or for settling scores. So I think it should be looked at carefully. But at a personal level, I think for me, I don't have any space to accept someone who has entered an institution through fake, because that person is deceptive. His moral authority or ethical standing is limiting. But there may be circumstances where the person perhaps was forced by poverty, the conditions in which they have come, and were struggling perhaps to get a job to support their families, who are living in much worse condition than even him.
Okay, Deputy Speaker, so there's a question here. Is it treatment of holier-than-thou, or is it a question of political targeting that he refers to? But knowing too well that if up to 10,000 officers have fake papers, that is denting on the credibility of even the recruitment process.
Yeah. Okay, first let's put things in perspective. I agree with Honorable Mohammed that Honorable Yusuf, that yes, there are people who can acquire their degrees from certain universities based on their work experience or their community work. Mm-hmm. That is a different matter. But if you had acquired a fake degree before and went to work, that is fraud. It's a criminal offense. And there's no two ways about it. So whether you go on to acquire other degrees later, that doesn't make the fraud you committed or the criminal offense you committed at the beginning correct. It cannot be. You can acquire other degrees, that's fine. No one's going to dispute your other degrees that you acquire legitimately later. But the question here is not just a fake degree. It is a criminal offense. And I think that's what people are forgetting. It is a criminal offense. And what we have a challenge in Kenya is not just the fake degrees. We also have fake titles, fake logbooks, fake insurance documents, and so on. And that's why, at the moment, the method that we have is writing to the university and asking the university, is this your degree? Mm-hmm. And I think the moment the university, the institution, or the school says you are never a student there, that is enough to confirm that you've committed fraud. So what has happened is we've also made it an issue that we have to go to court, let the court litigate about it and so on. So the only cure to this, because it's a big problem, is all the institutions to have a digital platform where employers can be able to check whether that person was in fact a student over there.
Right.
But the simplest way we have now is confirming with the universities. Usually, the Kenya National Examination Council. If you go to them, when I was at the Electoral Commission, when people came to submit their documentation in order for them to be allowed to run for political office. And I think, Honorable Yusuf, I was at IEBC when you first ran, and you brought your documents. What we did is sent the document, the Form 4 certificate, to the National Council for the National Examination Council. Mm. Then they responded back and confirmed. And if someone did not have a Form 4 certificate at that time for members of parliament, what we did is we sent you for a proficiency exam in either Kiswahili or English, again to the Examination Council. So there were very clear methods of being able to confirm that. If it was a confirmation of your citizenship, we went to the National Registration Bureau, who then confirmed it. And I remember there was a case where there was an argument, and it was an MP from Northeastern who there was a claim that he wasn't a Kenyan citizen. And I remember somebody claimed that he was an Australian citizen. At that time, I did say the National Registration Bureau will confirm to us if he's a Kenyan citizen. So we sent a copy of his identity card, and it was confirmed he was a Kenyan citizen. Of course, his opponent took me on and said that I shouldn't have allowed. I said, I have no power to take away someone's citizenship. If the National Registration Bureau has confirmed he's a Kenyan citizen, then, we'll clear him for elections.
Right.
So, and I think I'm excited about what the government is saying about digitizing government services, because what happens is that even the logbooks, the university certificates, all of them can have a QR code so that one can check the authenticity, that like we do for the ballot papers, the results at the IEBC, and so on. Because and I agree that anyone found with to have given a fake certificate not only should be summarily dismissed from service,
right,
but also must be criminally charged.
All right. Let's listen to something more that they said during that event that I can hear from the other panelists. This was at the Bomas of Kenya.
Part of the challenges we have in the public service is because the people who are working there don't have the qualifications they claim to have. And that contributes to the problem that we have.
But Your Excellency, hiyo kibarua ni ngumu. sijui utaanzia wapi, kwa sababu sioni mtu mwingine akiwezana naye. It requires a decision at your level.
It requires a decision at the president's level. Mheshimiwa Orero, so talk to me about, it appears like this information is known. The ACC recently released a report, I think, together with the Public Service Commission on how many, I think there were about 2,000 people that were having the wrong papers. The government, the president is now putting it at 10,000. If this is known, then what stops action from being taken?
Yes, thank you. What comes into my mind is that we are going back to those days where we make roadside pronouncements by high-ranking officials. Then they become policy. When a sitting government says that we have over 10,000 people with fake degrees, what criteria have they used to determine the numbers? And if the head of state says there are 10,000, what action has he taken? Mm-hmm. Why would he come to public and tell people who do not even know the numbers that we have 10,000 people with fake degrees? And then his deputy says that it is a matter that it is only the head of state who can solve. We must have a clear guidelines on policy matters in an existing government. When I look at the reports today, the EACC is just investigating. They have just about 161 cases in court. Are they the best people to look at the facts? We have agencies that are charged with the responsibility of looking at qualifications of individuals. That is like the NEC, Kenya National Examination Council. How much are they involved in determining who has the right certificate and who has no right certificate? We need to look at our policies on many issues. One, we have the labor force in this country. We must look at why people strive to get fake certificates, not necessarily degrees, many other certificates. The labor force in this country, that is about 50, when you are 15 years old and above, and you can look for employment, those who are employed, they are about 25 million, about 25.5 million Kenyans without, who are the labor force, minus those who are not employed and who have retired, those who are not seeking for employment. Now this number, when we look at our population in this country, is almost half of the population, those who are looking for jobs and those who are employed. Now this brings a lot of pressure on the government to ensure that they are employed. But the public service, how many have they employed? It's just about 1 million or something. So what criteria are we going to use to determine who remains in the public service? Is it a gimmick to remove some people from the public service on flimsy excuses? Or really, is it a government policy coming? But looking at it in a perspective, I think these are some of the policies being pushed through the threat of the government by the IMF to ensure that they reduce the number of workers in the system. We must look at ourselves, what as a country we have for our people. Not just saying that we want to reduce the number of public servants by excuse of saying that we have fake certificates. I think they want to meet demands of certain demands of people. The
IMF would actually demand that you
reduce the workforce. They would demand that you reduce the workforce. They would demand that maybe you streamline your public service. So as they fund you, they give you certain conditions that for you to move on, you must reduce your workforce. And maybe as a country now, one of the ways that they think is saying that some people have fake certificates, and maybe they're just targeting certain politicians.
But if the public service is 953,000, even if you remove the fake certificates being spoken about of 10,000, you still have
it's a drop in the ocean. But you see, it is a perception that will be sold out that at least we are doing something about some of these conditions, so that you acquire what you really need. But you know that my friend sitting next to me here she has worked in many institutions, and I believe she's one of those advisors that give. She was as a registrar or in the judiciary. Right. She worked in the IBC. She has been there for a long time. And when you come to constitute a government, you must have a framework on economic policies, both monetary economic policies. We must also have fiscal policies that will determine even the workforce that you will employ in the government. And when you sit and look at these policies, is what now those two leaders were talking about, do they form part of your economic policies as a government, or they are roadside pronouncements that is going to affect the legitimacy of that government? So I think, in my opinion, it is not just about the fake certificates. We have institutions which are charged with looking at whether a certificate is fake or not fake certificate.
Okay. All right. And Mheshimiwa Mbui, so as you listen to this conversation, one wonders, during the elections, you have the IBC subjecting everything to the institutions that verify. If it's degrees, Commission for University Education, and that was done. In fact, there were some very heated conversations in this country about some of the candidates that time. And if the Deputy President is saying that there are some governors sitting here with you that have those fake papers, I mean, what does this say? Because it is political parties that clear people to run. It is them that support them, even when they go to court. They defend them, that they have the credible papers, and this is just political witch hunt. So what are Kenyans supposed to do with that information?
You know, this issue of fake certificates is really an issue of integrity. And it's unfortunate that the fiber of integrity of the country has been seared for the longest time. I mean, this is really points at the kind of people that we are churning out of our education system. Remember, the first effect that this thing has is that it affects our education sector, because it discourages the youth that are supposed to study so hard. You want to do so many years and get a degree in medicine. You want to get a degree in law. You want to get a degree to be an engineer. But people who haven't stepped in a classroom, in a university, can go to River Road and print out a certificate and are equivalent to you. 5-10 years of your life is wasted, you know. So that unfortunately discourages those that are, you know, following the law and going through the education system. Not to forget some that it goes further, because even those that go to schools, there is a lot of cheating into getting into the universities. There's a lot of cheating within the universities. So it's a bigger problem that, yes, we have fake certificates. We also go further to point out that we also have certificates that have been acquired fraudulently. They are coming from universities, but some of these students were probably not even studying. There are people, some that we know, that have gone to university at their old age, but they never had time to spend in classes. But they would have somebody maybe sitting for them, and when the time for exams comes, they'll probably get some leakage on the exams, and they would pass the exams. So it's a bigger problem. But then, unfortunately, what it does is that it sends this country into risk. You've seen in the past, I remember there was a doctor, I don't know whether he was in Ruaraka, some fake doctor. I mean, that was treating patients and carrying out operations. You know, that kind of situation can only exist in this country. I mean, it's unfortunate. I mean, then you can imagine that we remember one time we had a fake cop. I mean, the fella rose up to be almost an inspector of, you know, of police, walking around the streets. He never went through Kiganjo Training College. He probably didn't have any papers. But this fella was actually in the payroll. These are the kind of loopholes that we have to sort out. And then, you know, it also scares me when I imagine just a few days ago, we just buried our Chief of Defense Forces, who went down in an aeroplane crash, chopper crash. So the engineers that are taking care of our choppers and our planes, are they properly qualified? There's a lot of fear that, you know, this kind of conversation will have. But then it also sends me to ask the executive, does the executive also respect qualifications? And I'm saying this not just about the current executive, but even over the years. We have seen cabinet secretaries appointed who, and I remember this joke in Parliament, one of them had only one certificate. That was his birth certificate. And the fella was actually carrying out the role of a cabinet secretary. If the executive itself does not respect qualifications, what makes Kenyans looking for jobs respect them? What makes the youth respect qualifications? Even the current cabinet, and I am privileged to have sat in the vetting committee. There are members of that cabinet that do not have a university degree. And it seemed like it was not even a big issue. In fact, one of them...
it's not a requirement.
It's not a requirement, but you see some, we are talking about qualifications. So if you are going to put people that are going to run the resources of the country, the trillions that this country has, and you do not pick people that are qualified, why do you insist that a junior officer has to have degrees, and proper documentation? So that's where the problem is. Even the executive has to also show the respect for qualifications. But then let's go to the solutions. I have listened to the executive and what they have said. The head of state, the deputy, yes, it is true we need to deal with this situation. And I've listened also to our deputy speaker, and she's right that this is a criminal case.
Right.
But the minute you say you're going to initiate criminal proceedings against 10,000 people, I mean, that's the minute you lose a script. For me, I would ask that anyone who has used fake certifications to get employed in government to immediately resign. And that we are going to give them a timeline within which now we are going to investigate. And if you are found still in office and you are holding those fake certificates, then you can be charged. So what does that mean? That some of them will quickly take the easy way out. And even when you keep saying that you are going to return all the money, somebody who's worked for 20, 30, 40 years, how is he going to be heavenly possible to return that money? It's not possible. So let's just give them time and tell them within 1 month or immediately resign. And if we are found in office and we find that you have fake certificates, then we'll charge you, so that people can take, sometimes you provide some, how do I call it, a soft landing, so that you can get a solution. Because there are too many, Sam. The problem is there are too many. And thank God you are unable to ask what you wanted to. But then let's go to, the problem we are having is that even when we take them to court, and this is where I'll finish, even when we take them to court, it has happened. You remember a governor in the last political dispensation who was taken to court because he didn't have a degree, which is a requirement in law. And the courts confirmed that, yes, he does not have a degree. But they said he walks like a graduate, he talks like a graduate, he operates like a graduate. And they even further said that if for you to deal with this case, you should have brought this matter to IBC before he was even cleared. I mean, what does that mean? That even the court may not even be able to help us. So let's just give these people an opportunity to get out and charge those that remain in office.
Even though... Okay.
Yeah, I think... I agree that, in fact, we need to review our situation, given the fact that, if you look at our national culture, the low standards or ethical and moral standards that we have, ministers, ambassadors, and top government officials who do not have the right education and qualification, regardless of the fact that it is not a standard, requirement, is that there must be a job description in which that person is going to do. And that job description requires education, experience, and skills. So when you actually appoint a cabinet secretary who is a standard 12 or Form 4 failure or person, doesn't have any other qualification, and you put him or her at the top of that government department.
Right.
What is the expectation you have of the others below him? What kind of, because some of these people are holding positions that they're not fit to serve, critical positions,
right.
Issues of integrity, issues of qualification, and so on. So my position would be to look at this particular situation case by case, to review them case by case.
All right.
To not use it as a witch hunt. And before we do anything, we need a very clear and well-thought policy, government policy, on that issue. And we also need to put in rules and regulations that would be reviewed and approved by Parliament. That's very important. And finally, I think one must look at this issue in the broader context. If there are 10,000, the numbers are huge. There is no, our legal system is congested already and overcrowded. You probably need to look at giving them an amnesty which would allow those who want to leave, those who can show reasons that since they joined the service, that they have acquired proper certificates, they have acquired experience and knowledge, and it should not be a witch hunt.
But let me ask you, Mheshimiwa, so if someone came into the system by using fake papers, which is a fraud, do you need to take them to court to prove that they were fraudulent, or I mean, on the basis of fake papers, isn't that enough? Because they use false information.
No, but these people have been in the system for all these years. When did you realize they had a fake certificate? The system itself is at fault. They have made the mistake of employing a fake certificate holder for 10 years. Is that the fault of the fake certificate holder, or is that a system's failure? Are we now going to say this?
That's what I'm asking.
Yes.
Once the system learns that you use the wrong papers to secure a job,
yes,
isn't that reason enough to get rid of you?
No, but we should look at that particular case. Has that person changed over time? Has he or she acquired other skills legally? Is there remorse on his part to say that the circumstances in which forced me to get this fake certificates are this and that? And is the system that is judging him and the personalities that are judging him, the civil servants and the politicians who are judging this person, themselves people of integrity, people who have not come into the system through shortcuts? Even though the law deals with the person, not... No, but of course, when a system is rotten, and which even your boss is selected on political grounds, and where the system overlooks the limitations. For example, the example Mheshimiwa Mbui gave, we know that there were several individuals who have been adversely mentioned by the Anti-Corruption Commission, by the various institutions that have been given that job. And yet, because of belonging to a particular party at that time, maybe the ruling party. I'm not talking about only today. This is the systems problem that we've had over the years. Right. You have someone who's become an MP, he's done well for the party, and you appoint him to a very senior position later without any documentation. I have been involved in the appointments. I have been part of the appointments committee, right, where we oversight and interrogate nominees for ministerial position. And even recently we did the ambassadorial vetting. There were several of them who were adversely affected by the Anti-Corruption Commission. But nevertheless, government decided to appoint them, to nominate them. And as a result of that... And Parliament cleared them. Yes, because there isn't, when you don't have a case, an active case. The interrogating team, the vetting committee is based on legislation and the laws of the country. It's not based on things out there, hearsay. As long as there's not an active case, we don't have the ability to stop such a person. But let me tell you, but in other countries, let's take a break. Let me just finish. Sorry, we'll come back to that. Allow me to take a break. We'll come back to that conversation because I think you're getting to some interesting ground on integrity of nominees and people that are elected to office or those that are employed in the public service. We'll talk about that after the break. Stay tuned.